All right. So the stream should be starting up. Hello, everyone. Okay. Hello to all. Thank y'all so much for coming in and joining us. Um, I have a very wonderful guest here. And before I have her introduce herself, I'm just going to let you know how I stumbled across Miss Blunt Girly. Okay. So, as you guys know, I've been on a weight loss journey. I started watching a lot of Colleen Marie. And during one of her videos, she mentioned Blunt Girly and was
Oh,
like, "Hey, I really like her content. If I could make content like that, I would." And as I was listening to her video, I just kind of typed your name in to the search bar on YouTube, and I was like, "Oh, let me just subscribe, and I'll come back later and see what Colleen's talking about." So your videos start popping up. And I was listening, I was like, oh, she's cooking. I was like, this girl is straight up cooking. And I'm gonna be honest, at times you were cooking me because some of the things you said were very much so applying to me and the things that I really want to change. So I was just like, I really like this girl. She's speaking a lot of truth. So I was just like, you know what? Let me tap in, start leaving comments here and there, and a little bit after I started watching your content, I started doing these interviews, and I was just like, you know what? Let me just reach out and see. Okay, let me just throw something out there, send an email, see if she'd be willing to come on the channel and, chop it up on live. And lo and behold, Miss Blunt Girly responded to my email, and now we're here. So go ahead and introduce yourself to all the wonderful people in the chat and just let them know what they can expect from your channel if they go and subscribe, which I have the link also in the description. It's in the title and it's also the pinned comment. So
well, thank you so much for the introduction. That's so sweet. Thank you. And yeah, I'm pretty much a very blunt channel. I'm very straightforward. I don't tiptoe, I don't walk on eggshells. I'm trying to bring back blunt speech. So this is just naturally kind of how I am sometimes. And I think I've said before, like other people gave me this name. And yeah, I'm trying to figure out like, yeah, you emailed me and I was extremely excited because I've always wanted to do like a duo type of live stream. So I'm just excited to be here. And yeah, I just recently checked out your content and I also love your channel as well. You're super entertaining. So yeah.
yeah, like we've been just kind of going back and forth, just commenting on each other's stuff and showing each other support, which is so awesome. And I truly appreciate you, checking out my content. I think some of the topics we do kind of overlap, given like the criticism and honestly the whole decenter men thing. I hadn't really heard too much about that until I stumbled on your channel, and then I had to do a deep dive because I was just like, what in the tarnation? What is this? And I can't say I was shocked, but I was definitely disappointed in the things that I was hearing from these decenter men, women. And so, after being exposed to it, I was like, let me just go ahead and start putting out some of my thoughts because,
Mhm.
sometimes people are like, oh, this is a biased conversation and things like that. But I was completely new to that space. So I was just
Mhm.
like, hey, let me react. Let me see if I could find the gems where they are. Let me find the trash where that's at, point it out. So I think in some sectors our content overlaps a little bit, but not in every sector. I do love your content on weight loss. And that's going to be most of what we talk about today. We're going to also get into some relationship conversations. But to just kind of start this off, you've been very open about your weight loss journey. And I want to know, what was that moment where you were like, okay, it's time to do something different when you did gain the weight? What was that moment like for you?
Yeah, so basically, I have never really been super skinny my entire life. My weight kind of like slowly crept up, basically. So when I was like a teen and younger, I would say I was kind of like a normal size, a little bit overweight, but I always admired the women who were slim. I just did not know how to achieve that. And I think the turning point that made me, lose weight and get down to a size extra, extra small was OMG. I crept up. Oh my gosh. I got up to about whew, 200 pounds. This was like a little bit around the college years. And yeah, I got on the scale and I was like, what the heck is going on? And I did not know that I looked like that because I noticed too when you are bigger, you tend to avoid like angles, certain angles of yourself and certain types of clothing. So I never really looked at myself. And I think the turning point was it was when I took a photo of myself and I was based kind of naked, I guess, TMI. And I was like disgusted. All I seen was like my arms looked huge, my back looked huge. I had rolls, and yeah, immediately I went to lose the weight. But I did not always look like that. I kind of just got up to that and then I quickly brought it back down. So that was kind of my turning point. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, well now since I know how to be slim, I might as well just achieve my dream of I've always wanted to be like slim, kind of like the women how they looked in the media in the early 2000s and 90s. So that's kind of my goal currently. So yeah.
Yeah, trust me, I completely understand. Kind of similar, but I was over 200. So I had my first child back in 2023, my daughter Isabella. I had gained a lot of weight up until that point as well. And then I tried to go on several weight loss journeys after I had my daughter. So I started going back to the gym. Then I had gallstones, which took me out of the gym. Y'all, if you've never had gallstones, bless you. You are so lucky. Gallstones are just so terrible. I felt like I was dying. And I had to get surgery to get my gallbladder removed. So that took me out of commission. And then right after that, I ended up getting pregnant with my son that was born this year. So it was just like every single time I
Oh,
would try to go on like weight loss journeys, it would always be like something coming up. And then after I had my son, I checked my weight, and this was maybe like a month and a half, 2 months ago. Girl, I was 213. I was like,
oh
what? I
shoot.
was like, what is our
Same.
nations? Like when I tell you most of my like adult, teenage and adult life, I was around 140. I was around 140, but I had an athletic build because I
Mhm.
worked out like a lot. Like I was a gym rat. I could go to the gym and spend like 3 hours there and then still want to like stay there for another hour. Like I was like this huge gym rat. So I was very athletic. So I had a lot of muscle. But when I saw that scale and I was just like, how in the hell am I
Exactly.
213? I was like,
Same.
no, honey. And honestly, like that's how I ended up getting on Colleen Marie's channel because she talks about alternate day fasting. And that was like what I was going to start using to lose the weight. But unfortunately, I had to stop doing ADF because I didn't know this. And so this is something for the people at home. I didn't know this. If you are breastfeeding and you lose a lot of weight and you're burning a lot of fat really fast, that could be very toxic to your baby because your fat stores a lot of toxins. So when it's released through like burning the fat, it gets into your bloodstream and then it can get into your breast milk and it can cause like liver issues in your baby. So I had to slow it down. But I will say, I am no longer 200 pounds. Okay. I am out of the 200-pound club. So
Same.
I totally feel you when you're like, when you saw that two next to the, no, don't nobody want to see that.
Girl. It was so humbling.
Yes, absolutely. That is definitely a humbling experience. But you know what's so interesting is that there are a lot of other women that are struggling with their weight, but they don't always see it as a struggle. We see the body positivity
Ooh.
movement. So I want to know, like, what do you think about do you think like some people actually don't want to lose weight? The people that are like, oh, body positivity. Do they really not want to lose weight, or do they just want to complain about being unhappy without putting in work to actually be happy?
Oh my god, that's a great question. I was just kind of thinking about that. So I have two answers. So for the body positivity people that say that they are happy that way, I think it's a cope. I think that a lot of people struggle, like statistically, a lot of people cannot lose weight and keep it off. So yeah, I feel like a lot of those girls have tried to lose weight. They probably reverted back because a lot of people don't know how to like correctly lose weight. A lot of people, what they do is they do the yo-yo cycle that I talk about on my channel, where they pick up these like quick gimmicks and like fast diets and stuff like that, and it doesn't work. It doesn't last long term, and they revert back. So I feel like that's what's happening with the body positivity people. Um, I feel like them accepting themselves, like some of them are huge, like them accepting themselves at what, 400 pounds or whatnot, it's a cope to cope with their addiction to food. A lot of them are addicted to food and they literally, I guess it is hard for them to lose weight. Because they have a food addiction. And also, I feel like I also wanted to say something else that I was thinking about though with Black women. I was, listening to this discussion. What keeps Black women especially big is because I think Dana Dane had said this. Black women like to hang on to the curves on their body, I guess, like the big, the big butt, but they ignore the fact that, their arms are also big, their back is also like everything else is big. It's kind of ignorant. So, yeah, I feel like that's kind of what keeps people big, those two factors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, growing up, like I remember all of the thin black girls, it was just always like this stigma, like, oh, you don't have no butt. Oh, you don't have no
Exactly.
hips. And it's just like, why are we pigeonholing blackness into having these, and what's crazy is that a lot of people don't realize is that that stereotype of having the huge butt and the huge breasts and all that stuff that comes from minstrel shows, right? I forget the black woman's name, but they used to parade her around as like a circus attraction because her butt was so big, and that comes
Mhm.
from minstrelsy, right? That whole archetype comes from that. So, similar to like the N word, it's just like, why is it that we as black people, and I'm guilty of adopting the N word too. I say it all the time. I say it all the time. I shouldn't, but I do. We adopt all of the negative things and we're like, oh, we're going to switch it to be positive. We're going to change. Like, no, it's still not good. It's still
Mhm.
promoting things that are negative. So, I don't know, Sarah Bartman, thank you. I don't know why us as black people, why we continue to cling on to things that are inherently bad, like the N word, calling ourselves a degrading name, promoting obesity through saying, oh, it's curvy, we're curvaceous, and then
Exactly.
shaming, right? And then shaming those of us who are not fitting that mold of overweight or curvy or voluptuous, whatever word we want to use for fat. Whatever coping word we want to use for fat. So I
Exactly.
really do hate that. Did you have you experienced that since you've lost weight? Like other black people coming up to you say, you need to eat a sandwich or wear your curves or things like that.
Oh my, yes, yes. Literally, I was at the gym one time and this random Black woman, she had the stereotypical overweight body. She came up to me and was like, "Why are you running on a treadmill? You're already slim. Like, you don't need to do that. That's for bigger people." Yeah, it's really ignorant.
So embarrassing. Like that's been my whole thing. Like over the past few years, I've just become extremely embarrassed with other
Yeah.
black people. I used to be real pro black. Like when me and my man got together, I was holding the line on pro blackness. But and what's crazy, it wasn't white people that made me turn away from pro blackness. It was other black people, because it's
Oh
like I'm
yeah.
holding the line for folks that don't care, for folks that just they want to adopt every negative stereotype there possibly is, and then get offended when other people bring it up. I just, but I don't want to get too off course because I could go on for days about that. So, we kind of talk about the physical transformation that happens with weight loss, but what are some like emotional or mental changes that you kind of experienced while losing that weight?
Oh yeah. Okay, so for me, okay, how do I explain this? Okay, so the first half of my life, I kind of lived around white people. So, the standards are just kind of different. I was relatively slim in my childhood and stuff like that. And then as a teen, I moved to the black community. But the thing is, my experience though, you're saying emotionally, it wasn't I started to become overweight when I moved into the black community because obviously like the influence to be thick, even though, I can't stand that word because it's not thick. Most people are just big. But anyways, yeah, that pressure was heavy on me. That's actually what caused me. Well, it's partially the influence that caused me to gain weight, So, yeah, I never really had a traumatic experience, me personally, when I was overweight because the black community is more accepting of being overweight. However, I can tell you about my personal emotions towards it. I honestly I hated my body. I hated it. I just did not like I had to always take pictures in certain angles and stuff like that to make sure my arms don't look super big. Just I had to be super extra self-conscious. That's what I noticed when I was overweight and had more weight on me. I had to just be cautious about like the types of clothes that I wear and stuff like that. There was no freedom. So basically, the main change that I noticed now that I'm slim, a dress size 00, and I do show pictures of, my body and stuff like that on my channel. Now that I'm slim, I like the freedom that comes with losing weight and being slim. So I don't have to stress about clothes or anything like that, or oh, I shouldn't wear that top because it's not going to be flattering on my body. I feel like now all clothes and all angles in photos, it all flatters my body. And so when you lose weight, it's like this next level confidence. It's this next level of like self love, especially. Like I really love myself. I love every inch of me. When before, when I was overweight, I couldn't really say the same thing. No, I couldn't. It was more like fake confidence when I was overweight and coping. And I feel like, yes, a lot of women who are overweight, they cope. That's why I brought up Black women, because Black women will be big overall, but they're coping and telling themselves, well, at least I have like, a big butt. I used to tell myself that, like, at least I'm kind of thick. I got a big butt going on. So I'm just going to ignore, the fact that I hate my arms and my back and everything else about me. So yeah, I like the freedom and confidence emotionally that comes with losing weight. I can truly say I love every part of me now. I can just it's so easy to take photos too. Like a lot of the photos that I have shown of myself on my channel of my body, those are like lazy photos. Okay, it's yeah, it's not. It's a more stress-free life when you're slim. So yeah.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And, I'm always going to be very transparent about my journey as far as like weight loss and weight gain. When it was the holidays around Christmas time, and Justin can confirm this, I was stressing out. Okay, I was stressing out because I felt so uncomfortable in everything. And yeah, he's confirming it in the chat. I felt so uncomfortable about every single thing I put on my body. It's it's one of those
Yep.
things where if you're not going to be honest with yourself, you're going to end up also going out looking like a fool. Right?
Yeah.
Like oh my goodness, that woman that couldn't get into the lift. The woman that couldn't get into the lift. I know you've seen pictures of her. I cannot imagine walking out of my house looking like that. I'm sorry. I can't imagine it. Like there has to be some kind of disconnect between your mental and your
Mhm.
eyes, and like there's something going on there because
Delusion.
it is absolute delusion. because there's no way you looked at that and said this looks good. Just like the lady you just did a video about with the club, right?
Mhm.
She's, oh, they wouldn't let me in the club because I'm black. No, no, you looked a mess. Okay, you looked a mess. You were dressed a mess. You were way oversized. And is it fair? No, but life isn't fair. And this is, I'm gonna go on my soapbox for
Exactly.
just a second. I
Go.
cannot stand this. Oh my God, it's so unfair. Life in general is not fair. If we look
Mhm.
at the animal community, just in general, the animal wildlife, do you think that the gazelle is sitting over there? Oh my God, it's not fair that the lion, is so fast, or the cheetah is so fast and they catch me and eat me. Like, no, they go on about and live their lives, and they live their life as intelligently as they can, doing what they have to do to evade the prey. They don't sit there and complain about how it's not fair. Honey, it's the circle of life. Life is not fair. When I seen, if you have that issue with life being fair, go watch the Animal Kingdom, and you will find out exactly how fair life is. There are literally animals that, when they're being hunted by their predator, they will toss their young so that they can get away. Life is not fair, and
Yeah.
it will never be fair. So the sooner people start to realize that and be like, "Hook, if I want certain outcomes, I have to move a certain way." It just is what it is. And that's with any life, any organism. You got to move a certain way if you want to get certain results. But I'm off my soapbox on that one. It's just that whole fair concept. It irritates me so much. Um, and I want to also talk about the type of relationships that we're able to attract at different sizes, right? So when you were at your heaviest, like, what type of relationships were you attracting versus the type of relationships you attract now that you've lost all of that weight?
Oh my goodness, I love this question. Because yes, I've talked about this before. My dating experience when I was overweight compared to me being slim now, it was a night and day experience. Um, so basically, I feel like the sad reality. So I agree with what you actually said. That's what my channel is about. I am not interested in trying to change the world. The world is the way it is. So that's kind of how, I preach from that standpoint. And I like this quote, your personality, it gets filtered through your looks. So when I was overweight, it was actually, yeah, it was a little bit more hard to date. It was. I noticed that the attention, it changed. So I attracted way more, when I was single, because I'm not single anymore. But yeah, so when I was single, I attracted way more like lustful attention from men. I noticed that it was a little bit more harder to get them to take me seriously and give me commitment. Um, yeah. And now that I'm slim, literally as soon as I lost weight, it's like when I was overweight, I was pretty much single for a lot of the time because, like I said, getting commitment was a little bit harder. Now that I'm slim, it's like immediately I noticed when I was single at that time, guys wanted to take me more seriously. They immediately wanted commitment. They wanted something serious. So, yeah, I did not stay single for long as soon as I lost weight. And I am now currently married. And yeah, the quality of men also changed. So I was attracting more good men in my life. And yeah, like sometimes people
Absolutely.
are good people, but sometimes your weight can be in the way of that. Your weight can hinder you. So yeah, your personality, it gets filtered through your looks, unfortunately. But
I love that
yeah.
quote. That quote is awesome. That
You.
quote is awesome, and it's so true. Like, even if we take a look at, like, removing the conversation away from women, if we look at men, and two men could do the same thing, approach a woman and, offer to buy her a drink. One is going to be perceived as creepy based on how they look. And it's a natural fact. So that's absolutely true. And honestly, like I said, everyone is obsessed with everything being fair. This idea that you should take me as I am. It's It's not realistic. It's not realistic. And
Yeah, of
we shouldn't,
course.
I'm sorry?
No, I said of course.
Yeah, like it's not realistic. And it seems like people just want to be, at least from my perspective, it seems like a lot of people just want to be lazy. They don't want to actually put in the work to better themselves, because that is a lot of work. Committing to losing all that weight to go from 200 pounds to being a double zero, like that takes commitment, and especially if you're
Mhm.
keeping it off. And that's a lot of work. Okay, it's easy to sit down and just eat whatever's in front of you. It's a lot harder to be like, you know what? I'm satisfied. I don't have to finish this. You know what? I don't need to eat, 5 pieces of cake in the matter of a few days. Like I don't have to do this, or the ability to get up and go exercise. Like all of this requires work. And that's why it's so funny what you said earlier about you being on the treadmill and that woman walking up to you and be like, "Why are you doing this? You're still skinny." Okay, well, this is why. This is why I'm still skinny. This is why I look the way I look, because I'm on the treadmill. Maybe you
Mhm.
look the way you supposed to look if you were on the treadmill more. So, people don't want to put in that work. They really don't. So, do you have any final thoughts on weight loss? Because I do want to kind of pivot more towards talking more about like relationships. Do you have any closing thoughts on weight loss?
Yeah, I piggyback off of basically what you said. I don't think I like introduced myself more, you know, properly. Yeah, so I've like lost the weight and have kept it off long term for like, a couple of years. And yeah, a lot of people they tend to gain the weight back because of like the lady, on the treadmill. When I was on the treadmill, she was like, "You're already skinny. Like, why are you running on the treadmill?" That's how most people think. Most people, that's why people cannot keep weight off because they feel like once they've reached their goal, it's like, okay, I can just go back to how I used to eat and all my old habits. And that's why people go back to their old body. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had to say. I feel like a lot of people that accept their body in a bigger state, they don't want to look like that. They don't. It's an absolute cope. A lot of them do not have the tools to lose weight. They don't know how to. I noticed that the average person is just dumb when it comes to weight loss. So yeah, on my channel, I really break it down for people, the science of how to not only lose weight but keep it off long term. And also, I noticed too, yes, the first few years, like when you reach your weight loss goal, it's hard to keep that weight off. But as you keep going, I notice it gets easier and easier and easier. Like now, I barely even think about, food and stuff like that. It's so automatic for me. I never overeat anymore. So yeah, I just wanted to let people know the journey, it does get easier. You just have to keep going and yeah. Yeah, that's all I pretty much had to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why, a lot of times when you talk, when you go to like different pages and they're talking about weight loss, the best pages are telling you about lifestyle changes, because
Hmm.
then it's something you can continue doing, right?
Yep.
It's not something that you would just do for short term. Once you reach your goal, then you're like, well, what do I do now? No, it's about changing your actual lifestyle so that you can keep the weight off, and then be healthy, right? Because it's not all just about the physical, like how it looks. It's also about how you're feeling on the inside. Your organs do not deserve to be covered in visceral fat. They need space to breathe, okay? So, I really do appreciate channels like yourself, and then also like Colleen Marie. And there are several other channels that do weight loss content, whether it's Chloe Ting with workouts, things like that. I'm so appreciative of that type of information because, you know, like you said earlier, a lot of people don't know how. So once we kind of open people's minds to realize they can learn anything that they want to know just by doing some Google searches, and content like yours, content like Holly Marie, and a bunch of others, when that content pops up for people like that, they're able to get information and actionable steps that they can take towards getting to their goals and then maintaining their goals. So I just want to make sure I give you your flowers on that. If you are interested in losing weight, and not just losing weight, because the good sister talks about a lot of different things, definitely check out Miss Blunt Girly's channel. I do have, like I said, I have her channel linked in several places. It's the top comment that's pinned, also in the description box, even in the title. So go ahead and check out Miss Blunt Girly. She will get you right, okay? Like I said, I was a little triggered. Some of the things you said, I was triggered, but I was like, these are things that I needed to hear.
Thank
I'll wait
you.
before we before I move on. I'm gonna tell you one of the ones that triggered me.
Okay.
It was your point about, why are you eating the same amount as your man? I was like, oh my god,
Be leaving a crumb behind. I stay on
not
their necks.
even.
For real.
When I heard you say that, I was like, you know what? I didn't even think about that. That is 100%. Why? Why am I eating the same meal that my man is eating? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
that's the
and so yeah, if you are easily offended, um I would say get some hair on your chest and get over that, and go listen to people that will tell you the truth, right? Because that sugarcoating is what's keeping you where you're at and not allowing you to grow. But to go ahead and pivot onto more relationship kind of topics, because that is another area where you talk about, do you think some women use this, oh, I'm healing, as a way to just avoid dating or be held accountable when it comes to their relationships?
yeah. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. So, yeah, so I know this whole healing thing, I don't like any type of extremes. So on my channel, I am notorious for preaching against any extremes. You need to live your life in moderation. And I know some women, and they're actually on YouTube, and they've been talking about they've been healing for about 10 years. And, they're wasting. It's just this, sometimes this excuse can hinder you and it's unproductive. Like, as women, we are not graced with time. It's just the truth. It's just biology. And I believe in moderation. Like, there's, I know one lady, like I said, who spent her entire 20s healing, and we are on a time clock to start a family. It's just an excuse. I feel like life is supposed to go on, and we are supposed to be resilient and keep things pushing. I talked about this too on my channel, where this generation is just weak. I'm sorry. Like, I understand healing in moderation. Obviously, yes, if you've had something bad happen to you, yes, take some time to yourself. But some people, it's kind of like this bedrock trend that I get on with, with Gen Z and stuff like that. It's like some people are just weak and they're not productive with their life. Yeah, I feel like it can become toxic and an excuse. You shouldn't be healing for freaking 15, 20 years. Like, life has to go on. We're designed to keep things pushing. So yeah, I just feel like a lot of women are weak. Well, people, period. But I guess we're talking about women. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I 1000% agree. And when I did the Control Alt Debate, Vibe got on me and he said, You sound like Hitler." But let me explain. I feel like a lot of people are just, they're kept here through all of the advances that we have through society to keep everyone, alive and healthy. But if we were back in the wild, some of us just would not. We just would not be existing, because we would be survival of the fittest. We wouldn't be the fittest. So
Thank
when
you.
we think about these people that we've been allowing to, and I say allowing because society has created these safeguards to keep people alive, and I don't have an issue with that, but with that comes a lot of people that just aren't that fit for society. It is what it is. You know what I mean? So, like you said, we are supposed to be resilient. We are supposed to be able to, take that time to heal. I'm never going to be against someone taking some time to heal, but
Exactly.
10 years, if that's the case, you're
Yeah.
not healing right. Like whatever it is that you're doing, it's not working, and you're insane for continuing to do the same thing for 10 years and be perpetually healing. So, and honestly, like I feel like a lot of times when people say, "Oh, I'm healing," they're not actually putting in the work. They're not
Oh yeah.
actually doing anything to heal. They're just saying, "I'm healing. Leave me alone. I'm healing." And it's just it's ridiculous at this point,
Oh,
you
that's
know.
what I wanted to talk about. You just touched that for me. I feel like people need to put, or women need to put more intention on look in the mirror and course correct rather than just sitting there kicking your feet up and, oh, I'm healing and, I'm not doing anything to change, you know, look back at the ex and see why did I choose him and where, things went wrong, where I could improve. Yeah, those are the questions you should actually be immediately asking yourself, right after a relationship is over. You should be productive. And yeah, if you are leveling yourself up and you're doing the work on yourself, there's no reason why you should be healing for 10 years. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But we live in a society now where everything is not your fault. It's always
Oh, yeah.
somebody else's fault. We're constantly pointing the finger at everybody else as opposed to looking at ourselves and seeing like where did I go wrong? Nobody wants to hold themselves accountable. And there we really have to do a deep dive study into why that is, because it's an issue that's plaguing not just women, not just everybody. Everybody is struggling with accountability, and it's like they fight it and they dodge it like the plague, or like the matrix. They dodge accountability. And a few years back I started calling it accountabiliphobia. Okay, y'all are phobic to being accountable to your choices, and will sit there and have the nerve to be upset about your outcomes, but you're not changing the behaviors. You're not putting in any work. So it's really frustrating when you deal with people that don't want to take accountability for their choices, but they want to sit there and complain about their outcomes as if they didn't have anything to do with these things. Are just happening to you. You're a grown woman. You're a grown man. I understand children having that, right? Because children, they are subject to the adults around them. But once you're in your adulthood and you have some choice over your life, that means you're accountable for your decisions. And
Uh,
the beds you make is the beds you gotta lie in. And this kind of leads me to my next question. I want to know your thoughts about these women that say, if he can't love me at my worst, then he doesn't deserve me at my best. What are your thoughts on that? Because I hear that all the time, all the time.
um, yeah, so I feel like a lot people just they have a lot of copes. That is a dysfunctional and toxic cope. And I am always telling people or women, whatever, if you want to be a good partner and have healthy relationships, reverse what you just said and imagine if a man said that to you, that you should accept him at his worst. Um, you know, how would that make you feel? And it's super selfish and abusive. Like, I think a lot of women tend to say that when it comes to their weight. It's like a cope, like, oh well, if you can't love me at my worst, why do you even want to be your worst? That's what I'm trying to understand. Like, why do you want to be your worst? And then it's like, do you hate, I notice a lot of people tend to hate their partners, because I just can't relate. Why would you want to give your partner your worst? I don't know. I think it's a very abusive and selfish thing to say. And yeah, like if a man told a woman to love him at his worst, we would see the issue with that. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I try to promote on my channel. I feel like in order to be a good partner, you have to flip it and see if you would be okay with that. So, yeah.
I love that. That is a bar there. Flip it and see if you're okay with that. Because these same women will be like, "Oh, he's a dusty." They will call that man dusty in a heartbeat. So,
Yeah.
that whole idea of love, if you can't have me love me at my worst, then you don't deserve me at my best. sis, why do you want to be at your worst? Like you said, why do you want to present your worst to somebody? That's so abusive.
Mhm.
It's disgusting behavior. And again, it
Yeah.
goes back to that lack of accountability.
Oh,
Man.
yeah, yeah.
I swear, this is just one of many phrases. There are so many phrases. If you go on TikTok or Instagram or even here on YouTube, they have so many different phrases that they'll recycle in and out. This is just one of them. The love me at my worst, don't deserve me at my best. Like you said, it's cope. It's nonsense. And if you truly love your partner, you're gonna want to treat them right. You're gonna want to be your best for them. And I do agree with what you said. A lot of people are operating with hatred or resentment for the person that they're with. Because I can't imagine being my worst self and then telling Justin to just love me like this.
Exactly. What are we talking about? Like, no.
It's just the logic is not logicking. Okay, there's no logic. There's no people didn't think about this more than a second. They were just like, "Oh, that sounds good. It sounds good." And I'm not gonna lie, when you hear that at first, it sounds good, but logically, it makes no sense. It makes
Mhm.
no sense whatsoever. So, our society is really struggling with critical thinking. Nobody
Yes.
is taking enough time to sit with these thoughts and actually think about them and critically think about them to be more specific, because they're adopting things that, like you said, if you flip it, you would have an issue with it. So, and we kind of hinted on this a little bit earlier, but I've been doing a very big deep dive into these decenter men women. And I want you to tell me, do you think some women are weaponizing this idea of decentering men?
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna stick on this question really fast because I do have my own opinions about decenter men. Okay. I'm trying to bring it all the way back actually. Like when did I first discover this? I think one lady on TikTok just came out and she just was like, she had this video about how you should decenter them out of your life. And then immediately all the women kept like jumping on it. But so whatever. I was like, I didn't really care. It's like whatever. But I noticed that so you're saying, do you think some women weaponize the idea of decenter men? Yes. Um they're not actually decentering men. What they're doing is they're harassing women who still kind of just want to talk about men. And I basically, I think it's just decenter men overall, it's a cope and a trauma response. If you really break it down and if you listen to what they're saying, like what you said, if you use critical thinking skills, at least I noticed that decenter men kind of mimics avoidant attachment styles. And healthy women are not going to be drawn to anyone telling you to minimize your partner. I feel like the only women who are drawn to that are women who are unsuccessful when it comes to their dating life, whether they have a partner already, but the partner is not treating them well, or they're single and can't seem to get a partner. And I'm saying that because I think back when I had, not so good relationships, I also shared that same mindset. Like it's a cope. You're coping with your situation. And like I said in my video, and it's just the truth, some of you guys, you have to decenter men because unfortunately, you're not put in a position where a man is centering you. And I'm saying that honestly from personal experience because I know how I used to think when like I said, was in bad relationships. And I know how I think now that I am happily married. And I know women. I know women, you cannot trick me. And I think that it's overall like when you call this out, they love to say, "Oh, well, what's wrong with not worshiping men?" No, I think that how do I explain this? I think that it's unhealthy and toxic to try to minimize your partner because again, like I said, this is my favorite dating quote. Flip what you are saying and imagine if a man told you that. So imagine if a man was watching 1,000 videos about decensoring you as a woman. How would you feel? Okay, so then that's how he feels. And this is why the women who say this, if you look in their lives, they're never happy people. They're always miserable. They always ooze hatred towards the opposite gender because look at how they act. And I actually have another video. I just recorded a video about that, how you know, people who usually don't like the opposite gender, it's because you how do I explain this? They're attracting what they qualify for. So a lot of those women, they have to decenter men because they don't qualify for good men. You're an awful woman. Look at what you're saying. You're going around talking about how you're going to try your best to minimize your partner and put them on the back burner. And I'm not they're going to combat this and say, "Oh, well, you shouldn't worship your partner." Nobody's saying that. I think that everything should be in moderation. I think that healthy relationships treat their partner as if their partner is important in their life. Okay? So I feel like decenter men, it attracts a lot of traumatized women who need to decenter men in order to cope. And then, yeah, going back to your question, you said, do you think some women weaponize the idea of decenter men? Yes. They they're not actually decentering men because they can't stop talking about men, just like what you said in your video. Hating men is still censoring them. You're still talking about men. I think a lot of women sometimes they do weaponize decenter men because they're the ones like now it's just gotten extreme. Like if you even express interest in a man, they'll call you, oh, you're male centered or you're a pick me. So yeah, that's how they're weaponizing it. They're not actually decentering men and changing the topic and talking about knitting or something like that. Talk about something else. No, they use this topic to be a bully and just basically ridicule other women who, you know, might make men more important in their lives. Um, and yeah, also, yeah, they also use it as an excuse to male bash. I'm sorry, I keep going on and on. That's
No, you're
also what I was
good.
going to say. I was gonna say decentering, it's just another updated word for what's always been going on. Um, it's kind of like it's like a every few years we have a new feminist rebrand, but it all means the same thing. So back then, women were basically promoting being like independent. Oh, we don't need a man. I can do it all by myself. That's the same thing. Decenter men is just it's just a new word. It's the modern word for that. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say.
No, that is absolute facts. That is absolute facts. Because I know a few years ago it was 4B. They were calling it the
Yeah,
4B movement. It's the same repackaging. Like you said, it's the same repackaging of male bashing or hating
basically,
men.
exactly, exactly. It's an excuse. It's a
It
new
absolutely
reason
is.
to be a hateful person. So I like that you said, do you think some women weaponize the idea of decentering men? Yes, it's just a new word to basically, yeah, be a hateful and miserable person. That at least that's what they're turning it into. I'm
I
going
agree.
by their
Are you still
so
there,
yeah.
sweetheart? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It kind of went out for a second. Um,
Oh no.
but I totally 1000% agree. And it's so annoying because if I say anything positive about men, right? And I'm gonna be honest, I give people to smoke on my channel. I don't care. This smoke is rated E for everybody. I get on everybody for their bad behavior. But if I
Mhm.
sit there and I say anything even remotely positive about men, here come the comments. Oh,
See?
oh, you're male identified, pick me. They've been calling me a mammy.
See?
I've had women literally, because I'm in a long-term relationship, I've had women literally tell me that they hope Justin DVs me. Just
Oh
because
yeah, I'm sorry.
like I love him and I have no issue expressing my love very openly about my man. So, these women are, like you said, extremely hateful. And it's really disturbing because these people work. Like they work outside in the world. How do I know you're not, poisoning people on the low? How do I know you're not denying care if you're working in healthcare? How do I know that you're not mistreating mistreating people based on your own mental, because this is mental illness at this point,
Oh yeah.
mental illness, because you have such hatred in your heart for men. And it's like, look, men are not a monolith. Are there bad men? Yes, just like there are bad women. But if you are so hateful within yourself, guess what? You are also a bad woman. And the last thing I'm gonna say about this is these women are exactly the opposite of the coin of the men that they keep complaining about, right? So, for
Hmm.
instance, there was this one woman that commented, she was like, "Oh, I decentered men because I listened to men. I went over into the red pill spaces and I listened to Fresh and Fit, and they
Oh
said
my
this and that.
god.
That's the reason why I'm decentering men because I,
Oh
first of
my
all,
god.
you found the most toxic people you could possibly imagine, and you listen to
Oh,
them, and they're the reason why you don't want to deal with men. I'm sorry, but two sides of the same coin. Y'all both stupid. Y'all both, if you go into
that's what
these spaces, I'm sorry.
I say that all over my channel. I've said I have women do that too to me. They'll bring up Nick Cannon because he's like the worst example of black men. He has like a million baby mamas. And it's like just I don't know. It's dysfunctional. They lack critical thinking skills and they're attracted to that.
Yes, thank you for saying that. They are attracted to the Pookie and the Ray Ray, and they're mad Pookie and Ray Ray won't act right. It reminds me of that thing that men always say. Oh, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife.
Yeah,
Why are you trying to turn Pookie and Ray Ray into a loving husband?
facts.
Stop getting with Pookie Ray Ray. Okay, leave Pookie and Ray Ray where they're at. But then again, these women can't attract better than Pookie and Ray Ray. So they're just perpetually in that same cycle.
Exactly. That's what I talked about. That's that dizzy cycle with a lot of these women who and eventually they do end up hating men. Well, it's because you don't qualify for a better man. Look at how you talk, look at how you act. You're a bully. Like what you said. Oh yeah. What you said was awful. And I experienced that too. They're currently doing that to me too. All because I don't hate, my husband. I don't hate him. And they're just they're weaponizing decenter men, and instead of decentering men they're actually extremely focused on men, and they're focused on women who are married and what they're doing. They're actually their whole universe is men, but instead of focusing on them in a positive way, they're bullies. They're bullies. And I
Absolutely.
see this all over TikTok too. It's not just with like me. This is something that I observe everywhere.
Absolutely. I mean, I've even seen videos where a woman will do a get ready with me, and her whole shtick is, "Hey, get ready with me so I can dress um uh, the opposite of the male gaze. Come get ready with me so I can dress so that men won't look at me." You're
Oh my
still dressing
god.
for a man. You're still dressing for a man. You're not eating the way you think you're eating. If you're dressing so he doesn't notice you, you're still keeping him in mind when you're getting dressed.
They're doing the same thing that I am doing. So you know how I would be considered like the pick me or whatever. You're doing this. So I do the same thing. So if I go on a date, I want to keep in mind, oh, what would he like to see me in? Okay, well, you're doing the same thing. You're putting the same amount of energy. She's trying, oh, what would he not like to see me in? You're still giving men all this attention and energy. These women
Exactly.
are toxic and slow. I'm sorry. They're a little bit slow.
To me, it's more than just slow. It's mental illness at this point. I'm just,
Absolutely.
we just live in a society that's very mentally ill. A lot of things are just being exacerbated through social media and access to a microphone. It's crazy. Like, I can't imagine going into my closet and specifically saying, like, oh, I'm going to make sure, unless I'm going into a dangerous neighborhood, right? There's a little difference there, right? Because you think about safety. But if I'm just like going out on a town, which I don't really do these days, but if I were to, I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, what would a man not like? Would a man like this? Oh, he would.
Thank
Let me put
you.
this back. Would a man like? Oh no, let me put. What in the hell? Like that's too much
It's
work.
girl. It is childish. It's like I'm too grown for this. Like even if people are trying to call me male censored, bro, I'm too grown for this. Some people are really stuck in elementary. When I was in elementary school, this is literally how people would act. They would be like, "Ew, we don't like boys. We don't care about boys. Ew, they stink." It's like
Oh my god.
a lot of you guys are pushing 35. Like, please. I can't. I'm sorry. And they don't like when I bring up age, but age is necessary. Please grow up.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And see, that's another thing. I feel like, some people they get upset with things like age and things like that, but it's just like if you are happy with yourself and you know that
Mhm.
you're doing what you need to do for yourself, when people bring up age, you're not going to be upset about it. Because like for instance, like shoot, how old am I? I think I'm
You
turning
don't have to say it.
32. I think I'm turning 32 this year. Maybe. I think I'm turning 32. At a certain point, I stopped counting. I'll be honest. I stopped counting. But, I'm in my early 30s. When I hear commentary like that, like for instance, you brought up age on your channel, I don't get offended by that. You know what I mean? Because I'm not sitting over here and, I have things in my life that I regret, things like that. But I actually did healing. Like I'm actually doing healing.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not going to be upset about anyone else bringing up age because that is just a way of life and it's also something to take into consideration because like you brought up earlier, we do have biological clocks. Now, how you take care of yourself can extend that clock by a lot. Right? There are very healthy women that are having babies in their late 30s, but that's because they took care of their body in their 20s, in their early 30s, mid 30s. And
Absolutely.
it's not a given that you'll be able to even do that. So it's like we should be mindful of our age. And even men, a lot of men don't know this, but they also need to be mindful of their age as well because and a lot of people don't realize this, but and not to get too TMI, but when men get older, their sperm starts to mutate. So they've done the studies, they've seen it. The sperm will come out with double heads or double tails, or it's oddly shaped or oddly sized. So it's like we all technically have a biological clock. When it comes to women, we have a biological clock too. We can't deny these things. And also, who wants to be super old chasing after a toddler? Like, who wants to be super old, and you're in your 70s and your child is just now graduating 5th grade? I'm sorry. You're not going to give your child enough time with you if you
We
start
can
too
talk about.
late. I'm sorry?
Oh no, I was just piggybacking off of what you just said because my parents actually have an age gap, so I know what it's like to have my dad. He's like what he's older. Yeah, so I grew up with an old dad, and there are a lot of like cons to that. What you just said, having an old parent, they can't do what the younger parents are doing, and so you're absolutely right about what you just said. I'm just trying to vouch from experience. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not to say anything negative. Like it's just something to be aware of. And my whole thing is this. At this stage in my life, look, I got a man, I have two beautiful children. I'm in the position where I want to help guide younger women to make better choices, even better choices than the choices I made. And I think I came out pretty good. I got a man that loves me and two beautiful children. We were in a house, we got all our things together. With that being said, when it comes to the younger women, I want to make sure that I'm giving out good information that's going to help guide. Whereas like I feel like and this wasn't really on the agenda, but it's relevant. I feel like a lot of older women, they will intentionally put out very bad information to the
Mhm.
younger women. And what I find, and you can give me your thoughts on this as well, I find it as a way to validate their own poor choices. Because if you had all these bad outcomes and then you get to the younger girls to do the same mistakes, then it's like, oh, well, it's not that I could have done things better. All women struggle with this, or all women would have the same
Really?
outcome. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh, I talk about this all the time. Younger women listening, you have to be careful. And I'm not trying to demonize all women who are up in age. There are some women who have made good life choices and they're spectacular women. They look good, they're fine, they have beautiful personalities. So, no, when I talk about older women, I'm talking about a certain type of woman that everyone needs to be aware of because they're always going to exist. And like I said, this behavior has been proven. At least when I took college, I studied this in college. There is a thing of older people, they're very resentful of how their life turned out. Yes, that happens. That's the human evolution. When you get older, you start to look back like, hmm, some people look back and they're happy with their life, and that's the one you want to take advice from. Some people look back and they are miserable when it comes to their life decisions. And there are older women like that out there. They're actually all over YouTube. It's crazy. The amount of bad advice on YouTube is actually insane. And what they do is they're very manipulative. So, do I want to give a specific example? I don't know. Because I watched a video the other day of an example of this. Some women, you have to really understand, don't let them project their traumas onto you. That's their traumas. They made bad decisions. So I know a lot of women where, yeah, they give man, women older, I don't know what it is. Like, are they doing this on purpose? They give awful, terrible advice online. And I guess this one person, I'll give an example. This one person had brought up, wait, can I say names?
Whatever
Never
you're
mind.
comfortable with. I it's all about based on your comfort level.
Okay, okay, okay. He basically was promoting the sprinkle sprinkle route to younger women and saying, well, all these men suck, they're all dogs, and listen to me because I'm an older woman and I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, those typically, when they talk like that, that's a miserable woman that made bad life decisions. And she's, hmm, basically, yeah, trying to hinder the younger women, like what you said, basically. Um,
Yeah.
People have to realize, like, happy people, they don't talk. It's mainly just the miserable people talking. That's like the loudest people. So there are happy women out there that are older that are just loving on their man. Their man has not, like, screwed them over or anything like that. They just don't talk. So I don't know. I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree 1000%. Um for like I said, transparency. When way back, okay, way back, I used to listen to Shira Seven, right? I
Oh,
used to
okay.
listen because she talked about a lot of femininity things, and that was something that I was very interested in. As soon as I heard her talk about, oh, you need to manipulate men, girl, unsubscribe. I'm done. Okay, this was a good run. We're good. Any
She's
situation where you feel like you have to manipulate your way into getting things, full stop for me. My morals just cannot allow me to do something like that. You know what I mean? It's just it's vile behavior. And just like you said, flip it. Flip it. Women complain all the time about men being manipulative. So why are you going to then become the thing that you claim you hate? I don't understand it. I don't want to understand it because if I do understand it, then I'll be crazy. That's how I feel about a lot of this stuff. If I truly understood where they were coming from, I'd be a little bit insane because the logic just isn't there.
I say that all the time.
See, great minds think alike. Great minds think alike. We on the same wavelength with a lot of this stuff. So I love that. I love that for us. We're not insane women.
Yeah, this is a very healthy conversation. It's super healthy. Yeah, a lot like Shira 7, since you brought her up, I'm sorry, but that woman is traumatized. Like, she's speaking from a point of trauma. And oh, that's another thing that women will do. I wanted to talk about is I guess her big thing is all men cheat. She's constantly convincing women that there's like no good men out there and just use them for their money. Again, that is a woman that's coping with her situation because we know her story. That's what her husband was doing with her. So yeah, I noticed that whenever women constantly are dedicated to like really letting women know that like there's no good guys out there, she's coping with her situation. So yeah.
Absolutely. Because there are very good men out there. Maybe they just are repelled by you.
That's what I'm saying.
You
It's
hate to
like
be
you
the
don't
one.
qualify for
Exactly, exactly. Why are good men avoiding you like the plague? You know, because they do exist. Like, not to just be like, my man. I'm gonna take that line from you. My man, my man, my man. But
that.
my man is not a cheater. Okay,
That's what
he's
I'm saying.
not a terrible human being. Like my man, and I'm gonna give my man his flowers. Okay, I'm gonna give my man his flowers. I went through a lot with having my two children, right? Justin and I, we went through so much with having our children because I ended up having C-sections for both of them. And if you've ever been around a woman that's had a C-section and then also, postpartum depression and just a plethora of things. Justin has seen me literally at my worst. That worst that they talk about, and he has
Yeah.
loved me so much through it. When I literally looked at myself in the mirror after giving birth to my daughter, and I was like disgusted with myself because I was just, it was just all over the place. Like everything just felt so weird, and I was upset because I was struggling with breastfeeding. That's something I've been very open about. I had a lot of issues with my breast milk supply, and then I was upset because I couldn't naturally birth my daughter. It was just, there were so many things that went wrong, and I looked in the mirror and I was just very upset with myself. And when I tell you, Justin looked at me and he was just like, Sandra, girl, I love you. You just did the most amazing thing literally possible. You brought our daughter into this world. And I remember I just like collapsed in his arms and just cried because it was just like having someone love you in such a state, such a
Oh,
state. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. And it's so sad that a lot of women are denying themselves that by sitting here being so angry and hateful towards men.
yes.
If you work on yourself and you attract a good man, it is one of the biggest game changers in life. I am such a better woman being with Justin. I'm learning more about myself. I've actually done a lot of healing because of and with Justin. So, these women, they're going out there and they're trauma bonding with one another over experiences. And the craziest part is that you'll have women that are inexperienced. They've never been in relationships, but they hear other women complaining about men and they're adopting their trauma as if it's their own. Honey, these
Yes.
things didn't even happen to you. Like,
Yes.
you haven't even given it a chance. And that is the part. That is the reason why I have so many issues with older women that get on these platforms and they misguide these younger women. And they abuse that sense of power that you have as an older individual because people do inherently look up to you, you know?
That's what
So,
I'm saying. Oh
yeah,
my
it's
god.
disgusting.
Preach.
And it's the same sentiment I have with a lot of these people in the manosphere. A bunch of miserable males that don't have any of the things that they're talking about, and they're misguiding these young men into thinking that all women are whores. All
Oh
women
my
are 304s. And it's just like, bruh, what is this? Like what are we doing here? Man. So,
absolutely.
I really love platforms, and I'm gonna give you your flowers again. I really love platforms like yours where you talk about being able to find a good man. You hype up your man because there needs to be more messages out there of women talking about how wonderful their men are, right? We need more platforms that give that positive messaging. And I kind of talked about this a little bit in another video. When we're talking about like this whole decenter men, why not just say center yourself? Why not turn that into something positive? Because once you say, "Oh, decenter," it's negative. It's
Thank you.
already inherently negative. So why not just say center yourself? Because I have no issues with that message, right? I have no issues with someone taking the time to love themselves. But once you make it negative, oh, decenter men, you've already lost the plot.
Yeah. That you stole actually what I was gonna say earlier is the word is just it sounds nasty. Like even you saying that can repel a good person. And yeah, I love your story when you were talking about your man. Oh my goodness. Some women will never know the experience of a really good man because they don't qualify for one because look at how you act and look at what you're saying. Good men do not want you to minimize them and act like you have an avoidant attachment style in the relationship and decenter them. Even when you male bash, that's something too that I was talking about with my man. That that repels good men. That's why they always constantly complain about men. And yeah, it's a lot of older women. You said it perfectly. Oh my goodness, you said it perfectly. They are almost manipulating younger women, and they're like, listen to me, I'm the older authority, I've been through life, kind of like with Shira 7. It's like, oh, I know. And it's like, no, stop the misery likes company thing. You made bad decisions. And yeah, that's not everyone, but a lot of the times women who do have good relationships, you don't hear from them for a lot of reasons. Number one, they kind of get bullied by the male decenterers. Okay, they get bullied by angry women. Okay, so they get bullied into silence. That's what they're trying to do with me, and maybe even you. And also, good, happy people, they have this tendency to not share information with miserable people. Even I do that. I don't like if there's a bunch of women complaining about their love lives, I'm not going to talk about how great my love life is so that way they can be jealous of me and target me. So miserable people need to realize like some women truly believe, or people period, they truly believe that there's no happy people out there. No, happy people just avoid you. Happy people don't share happy information with miserable people. And yes, the same definitely applies to men. The same thing is happening with men, and it's driving me crazy. This whole pushing of, oh, all women are 304s. No, oh, Lord have mercy. It's a dizzy cycle. It's like the good women that you're claiming that don't exist, they're actually running away from you because you don't qualify. All you qualify for is 304s and these jacked up women. You don't qualify for good women. Look at how you talk. So the men and the women are equally doing the same thing on YouTube with this toxic dating messaging. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Absolutely. I 1000% agree. The people from the manosphere, the real extreme ones, and then the people from these decenter men and divestment movements, they just need to go ahead and get together and then leave us out the group chat. Okay?
Y'all,
Y'all need
they're
to take
obsessed
y'all
with
mess.
us.
Leave
Girl,
us
they're
out the
obsessed.
group chat. They are. They are. The way they get so mad at saying something positive about either men or positive about women. And honestly, like when you come from a more balanced perspective, and I wonder if you experience this as well. When you come from a more balanced perspective, you get hate on both sides. I catch
Yes.
strays from everybody. I catch strays from the manosphere. I catch strays from the women. I'm just gonna call it women's sphere. I get strays from all sides because I try my best to be as balanced and as reasonable as possible. I don't take up for one side. I always, I look at a situation, I analyze it and see what's true, what's not, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. I'm not going to ride out for one side just because skins versus shirts. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. If you're cooking and you have a good concept here, I will say that's good. If you have a good concept, I'll say that's good. If that's trash, that's trash. I'm not going to sit over here and say, well, I'm a woman, so the men are always wrong. No, forget that. Absolutely not. I'm going to go with what makes sense, what is logical. And unfortunately, that leads to catching strays from all sides. I'm surrounded by
Oh,
enemies, it seems.
yeah. That's why happy, healthy people, that's why they don't talk. They're
Yeah.
not ready. Some people are so low vibrational. They're not ready for what it takes to get to the point where you can be happy and have a happy, healthy marriage or relationship. You just yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I don't want to keep you longer than we agreed on. So just to kind of close this out, your content, it feels like a tough wake up call. Okay, that tough love, and a lot of people need that. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of people need to wake up. A lot of people need that. So, for folks who are not familiar with your content, so new viewers, what can they expect when they subscribe to your channel?
Oh, of course. So, okay, I talk very unfiltered. Like, I try not to curse or anything, but I'm very brutally honest. Okay, so just be prepared for that. I talk about everything. My channel is not for sensitive people. I don't really have a professional channel. I am not conventional. So I talk a little bit about everything, like celebrity gossip here and there, a little bit of weight loss, a little bit of dating and stuff like that. Hmm. I would say basically be prepared for critical thinking. I don't do group thinking, and my channel is yeah, I think that's about it actually. That's all I have to say for new viewers. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Blunt Girly. I am so grateful that you agreed to do the interview. You've been such a joy to have on the channel, and I would love for us to collaborate again in the future. If that's something you want, I'm not gonna, if that's something you want.
Yeah,
Um, but this was awesome. I think we were able to get into so many different topics. We were able to cover so much, and to the women that are watching this, new people, old people, all people, please be balanced. Okay, be balanced. Listen to different perspectives and then critically think about these things. Okay, don't just take everybody's word as gospel. Hell, even my words, don't take it as gospel. Sit and critically think about every single thing that you're hearing and get both sides of the story before you come to a conclusion. But yeah, y'all. Thank y'all so much. And thank you to everybody in the chat. Let me go through and do some shout outs for the folks in the chat. Y'all have been really turning up. I've been seeing it. But I want to keep the interview flow. But thank you so much. We have Lexi, Nala, Alexa, Chantel the Sim, what? Ooh, chocolate. That's a good name. Melody. I need some milk. These names are so funny. Beast Mode Clutch is a regular on the channel. Ripping Heads is a regular. Joel, Minnie, FH is the homegirl. Dr. Steele, Zero the Infinite, Journey to Happiness, Amber. Thank you so much. There's Decent Human Being. There's so many wonderful people in the chat, and I truly do appreciate all of you guys for coming in and enjoying the stream with us. We have Shrek. That's a fun name. Chaste, I'm not sure. um just thank you all so much for coming in and tuning in. I'm sorry if I didn't get to read your name. I don't want to just sit here for a long time trying to read all the names, and plus some of these pronunciations are they're beating my butt. Okay. But thank y'all so much for coming in and enjoying the stream. If you like the stream, go ahead and show your girl some love. Okay, like the stream, leave comments, share it, The more we interact with content, the more the message gets put out. So if you really want to combat all this negative energy, this negative information that is geared towards specifically younger women, then we need to interact more with the content that pushes something positive. That means going over to Blunt Girlie's channel, liking, commenting, subscribing, pushing that message out there so that all of the people with the biggest, loudest microphones that spew negativity, we can start to really challenge those perspectives and offer something new to the people. But y'all, thank y'all so much, and I will see you with the next one. Bye.